President Bola Tinubu says he remains committed to the mandate he received in 2023 to restore the country's pride and dignity on the global stage. In a message on X, after returning from visits to Japan and Brazil, Tinubu said every handshake and agreement abroad was aimed at securing opportunities that translate into growth, jobs, and prosperity for Nigerians. He highlighted fresh partnerships in Brazil across trade, agriculture, aviation, and finance, and new ties in Japan that will bring investment in industry, technology, and human capital. Tinubu added that despite ongoing challenges, his government is building what he calls a new Nigeria based on sustainable reforms, confident abroad, resilient at home, and one that will outlive his administration. Well, and during his visit to Brazil, President Tinubu held a town hall meeting with Nigerians. You saw it there, resident in Brazil and Afro-Brazilian descendants. This event was put together by the chairman/CEO Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, Abike Dabri Erawa.
Caroline is also here. Stephanie. Mr. President, they want to come back home to Nigeria, and we're doing that through the door return with Professor Sherika. Thank you.
Koma bodo baje, toriko si bomiro chi alelo, ajo de babile, e casa fowoko, kasi mafokon, be kemi be.
Well, interesting. So many of them are laughing here. Well, joining me on Arise Prime Time is the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the National Institute for Cultural Orientation, Biodun Ajiboye, to discuss how Nigeria's economy can get a boost through culture. And of course, the President's travel to Brazil. Glad to have you, Biodun.
Thank you.
Of course, you witnessed the laughter. I was laughing too, but
I was there.
Those I saw, were they Brazilians or Yoruba people?
They are Brazilians. They are not Yoruba.
The guys
they are
singing
Brazilians.
in
Yes, they are Brazilians. But their spirituality is highly connected to Yoruba culture.
We'll come to that, but
they are Brazilians.
Interesting. This is the President's third visit to Brazil.
Yeah.
How significant, how historic and significant is this particular one?
Well, you see, the hallmark of leadership is ability to appreciate your vision and develop the right muscle and energy to drive that vision. What Bola Tinubu, the President of Nigeria, demonstrated in Brazil a couple of days ago is a leader who has an unusual capacity to drive his vision. We have seen in him practicality of leadership to pursue excellently an idea to move away from the usual in a way that will be positive and result oriented. That's what the President of Nigeria demonstrated. I tell you very honestly, my brother, Brazil is the destination for Nigeria. With Brazil, Nigeria has no business going to America, Europe to ask for anything. Brazil can give Nigeria everything Nigeria needs at this point in time. So for the President to have been able to understand that there is something that makes Nigeria irresistible to Brazil is the knack, is the intellect, is the intelligence, is the unusual leadership intellect demonstrated. Let's move on, or I'll show how.
Yeah, we'll break it down.
Yeah.
What you're saying. Well, the presidency says the President secured the return of Petrobras.
Correct.
To Nigeria 5 years after Brazil state-owned oil company halted its joint venture operations. Should one be celebrating this?
Generally everything or the Petrobras? Now, I'll tell you, Nigeria, I recognize the fact that Nigerians do not know exactly what we stand to gain from this handshake with Brazil. And that's what I want to break down. Brazil is a very unique country with about 210 million population. Right. Brazil is actually was colonized by the Portuguese. So we have a tiny clique of Portuguese in Brazil, say about 5% or 10%, that controls the Brazil political system. But we have 90 million, we have 106 million Afro-Brazilians. Now, we have 90 million Brazilians, Afro-Brazilians, that are spiritually connected to the Yoruba Orisha.
By Afro, what do you mean Afro?
Just because they are dark in color. That's what they say, Afro. Otherwise, 106 in general. But 90 million of them, and this is actual statistics, 90 million of them are spiritually connected to the Yoruba Orisha. They are not like us that are ashamed of our traditional worship. They are very proud of that Yoruba Orisha, to the extent that that is what dominates their spirituality.
You're moving ahead of me. So we're talking about Petrobras.
Okay, Petrobras. Yeah, Petrobras, one of the major agreements we were able to seal in the area of oil and gas, energy. The Nigerian businessmen went there, we sat, we agreed, and we understood how we can, bring a very solid company in oil and gas like Petrobras to come and continue their operations in Nigeria. That's about oil and energy. Aviation, we signed a bilateral agreement.
Bilateral air services agreement.
which
airpeace can now engage in direct flights, and one wonders, how this will impact the aviation industry and other sectors as well. How will it impact?
It is simple. Do you know what it takes Nigerians to get to Brazil? You go to Qatar, you go to Ethiopia, then from Ethiopia you come down again to South America.
Because there's no straight flights.
You understand? So you spend 3 days from Friday to Sunday. You arrive Brazil on Sunday, and from Ethiopia, Addis Ababa to Sao Paulo is about 14 hours. So a man sits in the aircraft for 14 hours attempting to travel. That is the pain we have gone through all the while. However, while we were coming back a few days ago by airpeace, we did 7 hours, 30 minutes
straight
to Lagos. Straight
journey.
to Lagos. Yes. So now look at what happens to Benin Republic, Togo, Ghana. Without direct flight, they all come to Nigeria to fly. So airpeace has just gotten itself a good deal. And to the government of Nigeria,
an increased customer base.
Oh yes, and to the government of Nigeria, it is one thing of extreme joy that once and for all we're able to solve this problem.
When is it? Well, you said you flew, yes.
Yeah, we came back. We came back through the route, so it's operational already.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask.
So it's not a matter for MOU, just mere MOU or mere wish of the mind. No.
And that's beautiful. That's what I'm going. I interviewed. I had an analyst, all the way from, I think, America or London, Wenke. And he was, when I talked to him about this BASA, he said, fine, several MOUs rather have been signed, but that the challenge is, what have we done with the MOUs that were signed earlier? So that's where the challenge is, whether these MOUs just signed, keep it, the question of implementation or going ahead with these MOUs.
This is why the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is different. And I will explain to you. This government didn't happen by chance. The government didn't start by 2023. Some of us have been hanging around that man as a leader for upward of years. I'll tell you a trajectory, and I need you to understand it. As at 1980-81 in Lagos, it was a question of no infrastructure to do anything. Boom, the man became governor, and everything opened up. So he has a capacity for developing ideas for what I call developmental democracy. The story we were hearing in those days, in the 80s, 90s, there was no sufficient budget to ever do anything. He opened up all the roads in Lagos. That is capacity. The same thing is happening now. Looking at...
all the roads in Lagos really opened up.
At that time, I mean,
even now.
No, well, I'm talking of his capacity to have achieved what he achieved at the time. And I want to link it to a particular story of what he's now doing with respect to Brazil. Ability to locate Brazil is an ingenuity on his part, leadership ingenuity. Because there's actually nothing we're looking for in America, Europe, that Brazil cannot give Nigeria.
You think so?
I know so. Brazil manufactures aircraft. Brazil is the ninth largest economy in the world. What are we talking about? We're a country that is at the moment very backward. What we need is a country that is sympathetic towards our cause. Like I said, 90 million of Brazilians are connected to Yoruba people. That alone makes them feel like it's an extension of their home. And Brazil would run after us, not even us running after them. All we need to do is to hold the culture very well. Once we hold the culture, everything will fall in place.
Now, how strategic? So what you have in effect said, or what you're trying to say, is that this time around, these MOUs will be operational, will be implemented.
Yes, because
they will not be lined out fallow.
Yes, because
and then we'll go back to what it has been
exactly,
before.
because the people are committed. The kind of people that follow President Bola Tinubu to government are committed to ensure that he succeeds. I mean, we all knew what we went through during the election. Everything was against him. We all put everything we had to ensure that we won that election. And by extension, we are committed to bringing a fresh Nigeria.
I wish we were talking politics, Biodun, now, because Nigerians are not finding it particularly easy.
Yeah, we'll talk politics.
No, we're not talking. We'll have politics coming later, but we don't have all the time to talk politics. But I wish we were talking politics.
I wish so too.
Anyway, how strategic is the visit in terms of the broader perspective of diversifying and strengthening Nigeria's economy through global partnerships?
Let me give you a very succinct instance here. The 90 million Brazilians that I said are connected with Yoruba spirituality. Yeah. Half of them, 45 million. Quarter of them, 22.5 million. Right? Are willing to come to Nigeria on yearly basis for celebration of Orisha.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
And that's cultural tourism.
Yeah.
Now, if, for instance, Nigeria is capable of hosting 10 million of them, capable of hosting, I know we are not, but if, for instance, we are capable of hosting 5 million of them, multiplied by $10,000, it's 50 billion US dollars. Tell me one sector of Nigerian economy that can give Nigeria 50 billion on regular basis. So we have no business to be poor. If we hang only on culture, culture is a $250 billion economy. Fact, I know it.
In fact, you said, before I get back to this thing, I think you said something like, and I was wondering whether you were bandying figures when you said this. But okay, let me deal with this first, and I will get to that. You said Nigeria has reaffirmed its commitment to strengthen cultural, traditional, and heritage ties.
Correct.
With Brazil.
Correct.
In what particular ways?
Okay. My agency has created a project called World Orisha Congress. World Orisha Congress. WOCON. Now, WOCON is simply saying that Brazilians are yearning to come to Nigeria. I've been to Brazil 5 times since I assumed office. What was I going to do? What have I been going there to do? To discuss with a certain kind of market I discovered. That's a market. And the market precedes every other preparation in an industry.
What market is that?
The market of 90 million people ready to come to Nigeria for a congress.
Okay, that's what you're talking
about. So therefore, that audience is solid and interested in coming to Nigeria. All Nigeria needs to do is to ensure that you prepare infrastructures that can host them. And how do you mean? WOCON had gone ahead to ask for 2,000 acres of land within Ibadan, Oyo, Oshogbo, Ife. When we build this WOCON city, then of course we can then ask them to come for cultural pilgrimage, cultural tourism.
The lands you're requesting
Yes,
for,
to build infrastructure. It is given. Well, once we meet with the president now, the board of trustees, and our patron, led by Professor Wole Soyinka, Oni of Ife, Alaafin Oyo, Ataoja of Osogbo, myself as secretary, and the president of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Olori Francis Meshoye, we meet with the president, put the idea on the table for Mr. President's buy-in. He is aware.
No, but you're talking about states.
No, the
lands.
Wait, listen. The project is a federal government project. Now, issues of land are state government.
Yeah.
So once we meet with the Mr. President and we have been able to table the idea for that kind of ceremonial agreement, understanding. Of course, the states will be told to please provide. Now, don't forget paramount rulers of Osun, Oyo, the Alaafin, the Oni, and lands reside in there. So we are good to go in that direction. Now, the point I'm making here is simple. Once we're able to put the infrastructure right, it may look very difficult, but money chases vision. The leadership we have right now is a very visionary leader. And when he sees an investment analyst, when he sees opportunity, he knows how to seize opportunity. So therefore, once we're able to put that together, intact, then by 2027, the Congress can start. So all the festivities that happen in Osun Osogbo, Olojo Festival, Songo Festival will happen right there with a whole lot of facility, military barracks, military bases around the place for good security, good, big, fantastic police stations within infrastructures, hospitals, and all of that.
This is the dream you're painting. I know that, of course, whether this was part of it or there are other things that you, just like you said, you met with Afro-Brazilian communities in Salvador.
Yes, we did.
Took part in the World Orisha Congress and held discussions with Brazilian religious leaders and met Congresswoman Olivia Santana.
Yes, I did.
What the picture you just painted now,
yeah.
Was there more? To this meeting? This meeting.
I had gone several times before. I had met with several community leaders, opinion leaders, business leaders. Frijan is one of their strongest business, association in Rio. We have met with them, making them to understand that these infrastructures in question can be put together by the Brazilians themselves. Take, for instance, the business model is very simple and is a win-win for them. We provide the enabling environment, the land. They build the infrastructure. And they stay in Brazil, and Brazilians say, we are going to Nigeria. We need your infrastructure in Nigeria. 20-story building of about 2,000 rooms. They pay them, they give them access. The important thing is that they are willing to build infrastructure. We just need to put the packaging together properly. Our Nigerian business people will be interested in building infrastructure. The major infrastructure we require there is just accommodation. Now, when it comes to issues of road network, federal government will take over, will take that off. We do that from our budget. Federal government will put the roads, infrastructure, and so many other things that we need. But the point remains that this vision must be made to happen in our lifetime. Nobody is interested in any other thing other than the fact that one of the most interesting things to us there is the fact that it can rejuvenate our economy. And that's just Brazil. There's Cuba, there's Argentina, there's Mexico, there's Trinidad and Tobago. All in all, 450 million people across the world that we can sell this idea to. So let's imagine we have infrastructure that can take 10 million visitors. We're talking of $100 billion US.
You had Marcelo Fregso, he's the president stroke CEO of Brazilian Tourism Board.
Yeah.
He says that Brazil will constitute a committee.
I met with them.
Yeah, he says to identify Brazilian festivals.
Yes.
And carnivals.
Correct.
That are most suitable to be replicated here in Nigeria. Is this committee in place now?
That was my proposition the last time I went there with the guy. I met with him, and our agreement was simple. We looked at Rio de Janeiro Carnival. Rio de Janeiro Carnival is a 15 million investment. revenue. That's what it gives Brazil. Brother, can I tell you something that will blow your mind? The totality of Rio de Janeiro carnival concept is predicated on Yoruba tradition and culture. Nothing else.
How come?
It's simple. They look at a concept. Artistically, they put the concept together. They demonstrate the concept by so much lighting and everything. Production, basically. You and I know what production means.
Yep.
And that's what the world comes to watch. And the world pays heavily. $10 million $10 billion to $15 billion is what they make. Because the visitors that come for that, those things about 10 million to 15 million, people from all over the world. What I'm simply saying to you is that if we look at culture very well, Nigeria is blessed. We have no business to be poor. And I'll give you another thing. The totality of Brazilian cultural environment consumes between 10 to 15 million bitter cola,
Bitter cola.
and alligator pepper in a month.
Well, that's Nigeria.
Yes, in a month. This is where it gets amazing. And can I tell you, they have about 35 to 40,000 conclaves. They are not Christians, they are not Muslims. And they are not in a hurry to belong to any of these two religions. They are so comfortable with the Orisha religion. They believe that that's their path to heaven. And they are committed to it. Age long, 500 years.
Now, okay, let me even ask you this. How, I was discussing this with you earlier before I come back to Wukong. I'm aware that Yorubas and Brazilians, like we've been discussing, have a deep historical and spiritual connection.
Yes.
Through their shared Yoruba heritage.
Correct.
How did this really come about? Because we have not talked about it.
Okay.
How did this come about?
Okay.
And how can it enhance, like we've been discussing about the cooperation, but how did this originate? How did this come about?
Now, about 500 years ago, slave trade was popular. The Portuguese were carrying Nigerians, Africans as slaves. Transatlantic trade, slave trade. They took a whole lot of Nigerians from Oyo axis, Oyo Ife axis. They took them to Brazil as slaves. And they were working on plantation. Now, these are pure, at that time Christianity had not come, no Islam. So, while those people got there and they were working on plantation, they tried everything possible to make them renounce their faith. But the people kept on to their faith, spirituality, and they passed it on to children upon children upon children, generation upon generation. And these people do not feel there's any other way to God other than this Orisha channel. And that's why we ended up with 90 million people that are Orisha worshippers in Brazil alone.
Not just Yorubas, people who...
Orisha. No, I mean, Orisha is synonymous with Yoruba.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? You know?
It was the slaves that...
Yes, that they took from Oyo axis in those days. Yoruba axis in those days of slave trade. They took them there. And they got there, they started, like, after the abolition of trade, they started their lives.
Growing there.
Yes,
now,
and they were having children upon children. They started teaching their children the same spirituality. If you listen to them, the way they talk about Oya, Shango, Orisha, you will marvel at how did they learn it. It had been passed down from generation to... A whole lot of them had never been here before.
But they know these things.
They know.
Now, we don't have all the time. Let's talk about these two quickly. The Global Cultural Digital Platform, GCDP.
Yeah.
You say is to leverage cultural heritage for economic growth.
Yes.
And then you also said that Wukong, which is
World Orisha Congress.
World Orisha Congress,
Correct.
generates $10 billion annually. I hope this is not just bandy numbers.
No, I've told you the arithmetic.
It's huge. All right.
I've told you the arithmetic is very simple.
And you want to, well, like we've been talking, collaborate with Brazil's Rio Carnival to drive economics. So address those two issues before we begin to think about letting you go.
Now, very simple, my brother. I've just said it. Now, it's what we call cultural tourism. Cultural tourism is driven by your belief system. you are not supposed to use your brain. You're always supposed to use your heart.
That's what faith is about.
Also, that's not just what it is. And we have that. And I am telling you that the economy, the revenue possibility of this idea is ad infinitum. It's dependent on you and not them. There are 90 million people that are willing to come.
Maybe you mean Nigeria.
Yes, there are 90 million people that are willing to come. Orisha is synonymous. The origin of Orisha is Yoruba land, not anywhere else in the world. Therefore, it is not something that they don't have an alternative. Can I blow your mind? This Orogbo and Obi and all of that, they don't even grow on their soil. They have to come to Nigeria to get them.
Pick it, yeah.
So now, $15 million monthly of those Orogbo, Obi and all of that. Imagine in a year what it is. So we have a whole lot of economic benefits to take from Brazil. We just need to map out our strategies, pursue it diligently, and convert the opportunities to reality. That's all we need to do. And I don't know if you ever believe that with a $250 billion US injection into this economy, if you think anybody will still be calling us a poor nation. And all over the world,
interesting.
If we develop this globally, is actually a $1 trillion economy.
And that's why it is. If we develop.
If we the argument now is for us to pursue it, and that's what people like me. That's what I am pursuing day and night of my life.
All right. So briefly talk about the global platform.
Now, the erroneous impression people have had about culture is like Nigeria keeps spending money to maintain culture ministry. Nigeria has not seen how culture can generate humongous income for Nigeria. So now that we know we have an audience of about 450 million people across the world interested in our culture, put that culture on the internet and make money for Nigeria. That's what Dudu Plugs is supposed to achieve. We put our culture on the internet, like Facebook, allow the world to access it, and we make all the money we can think about. It's as simple as that.
That's the digital platform.
That's the digital platform.
Is it operational now?
It's operational. No, it's not operational, but the plans are on the table, strongly on the table. We are developing the apps now. When we launch the apps, you see the magic that will engulf the cultural ecosystem, the cultural landscape, cultural space.
Well, we'll hold you to your word. I mean, we've just discussed it. We'll see how this plays out. But it's interesting the way you're discussing it. The Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the National Institute for Cultural Orientation, Biodun Ajiboye, thank you for discussing this on Arise Prime Time.
My brother, it's nice to be here again.